Yeah. Yo, welcome back to another edition of the Men Who Cry podcast. Like, subscribe, review, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell that friend to tell another friend. If you not do these things, I have to assume that you are still trying to vote for Eric Adams. On today's episode, we are talking about that orange ball going into that orange cylinder. Yes, the NBA season is back in a couple days. The first game we will have will be the defending champs, the Oklahoma City Thunder, taking on the new look Kevin Durant led Houston Rockets. And in the second game after that, we will have the LeBron-less Los Angeles Lakers with Luka Doncic taking on Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. We will talk about LeBron a little bit later on this pod, but the first thing we want to talk about, especially for this season, is the more things change, the more things stay the same, or how you want to go back to things. I don't think there's ever been a point now in a sports fan life where you had these words said. Man, I wish I had cable. There's so many places you have to change to watch sports now, especially for the NBA this season. So the NBA is going to have two new TV partners. Really, one is a streaming partner in NBC/Peacock and Amazon. And I'm interested to see how these coverages are going to actually be broken down, because now you have essentially three different studios hosting games where essentially it was just two, right? I know there was NBA TV, but that was essentially just going into the live feed of whatever the home team network was. And ABC, but that's essentially doubling down for ESPN. And the coverage of the NBA, I think, has in large part been something that has been frowned upon, personally. I think that a lot of people have been taken aback and just taken away by how much the coverage just resembles Twitter conversations. And I'll be curious to see who will kind of try and push away from that kind of commentary and kind of lean into more actual basketball stuff. As of right now, the one thing that I have seen ESPN has done, because they have replaced Doris Burke with Tim Legler as the number one on the show, or number one on the broadcast. So this year we will have Richard Jefferson along with Tim Legler with the great Mike Breen calling the finals games this year. And right now, Legler is doing breakdowns with some of the coaches. I just saw his first one with Mike Brown, the next coach. He just did one with JJ Redick, the Lakers coach, and actually talking about the game of basketball. And I've always looked at this as somewhat just low frequency or just low hanging fruit, how the NFL is almost lauded for how nerdy it can get in terms of the pulling of guards. I will never forget the time where Belichick was facing the Ravens and then was switching the receivers to be ineligible, but the tackles were eligible, right? That's such a fascinating thing to do in a playoff game, or the idea that he was kicking a certain way because of the wind, how it was moved. And I just don't think basketball coaches get the same level of respect that NFL coaches get. But at least I think we are now pushing more to the idea of having basketball coaches showing that they know a lot of what they're talking about, and they are trying to implement patterns and skills, and showing that type of breakdown, I think, is actually better for the overall viewing experience. But we have a bunch of different people in a bunch of different places, and frankly, I don't know how we're going to get to watching every single game. This season is going to be a very fascinating season. The Oklahoma City Thunder are the prohibited favorites to repeat as champions, even though we have not had a repeat champion in 7 seasons. The contenders that will be facing them this year, you have the new look Denver Nuggets with a new improved bench. You have the Cleveland Cavaliers trying to come back from losing in the second round last season. You have the New York Knicks, who have the most pressure on them in a century to get to the finals. And then you just have the Rockets I mentioned before. And one of the teams that I don't have as a title contender, but I can see them, making some noise in the playoffs, is the Los Angeles Lakers. And there's always that tweet that Kevin O'Connor puts out that's pretty famous right now, is don't take LeBron James for granted. And there's a report now coming back from Shams saying that LeBron James is more likely looking to return around mid-November. So that might be maybe like closer to Thanksgiving for an injury that is not necessarily an injury at all, but it's showing you that we are getting closer and closer to the end. And LeBron is able to do the things that he wants to do. However, I just felt like his second announcement when he came out and basically said that I'm doing the second decision, where he basically was promoting a Hennessy ad, I thought was so distasteful. And the reason why is because I was having this conversation with someone else before. It's like when people make money, because LeBron James has now been richer longer than he was poor, right? LeBron's been rich since he's 18, he's 41, he'll be 41 in December. He's been richer way longer than he's been poor. And I just feel as when you get to that level of wealth, you simply stop connecting to people when things don't provide you with money. And while LeBron does get a lot of hate, and there's probably a lot of people online who hate him, there's a lot of people who love LeBron. And if he were to come out and say, hey, this is my last season, I think people would have came out and celebrated him. Now, if he doesn't want to do that, that's his decision. If he's like, I'm still trying to go for the championships, I'm not thinking about retiring, that's on him too. But you don't have to dangle it in people's faces and then try to like make some type of weird profit off of it. Because people do want to celebrate you. And it's looking like we're getting closer to the end because he's already now going to miss a bunch of games. I would assume he's probably... It'll be interesting to see if he's still eligible for All-NBA. He made it last season. Credit to him for being able to get it in last season. But I don't believe this team is a title contender. I still think LeBron's a great player. I still think Luka's a great player. I don't think those guys are going to be at their peak versions towards the end of the year. And this is what I talk about a guy who's been so good for so long, who I believe is the best player of all time, and is someone who I think should be celebrated for what he's been through and what he accomplished and who the person he is today, even though I think his team isn't very good. But he will be obviously one of the main storylines of the season, so long with the two other old dudes that we keep talking about, Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. Of the three of them, I would say that Kevin Durant has not only the best chance to win the title, but the best chance to change the narrative on his name. There's now the Starting Five documentary that's come out. I haven't watched it as of yet, but from the clips I have seen, the one clip that's probably the funniest one is Durant essentially opening up about his Twitter use, right? He talks about the fact that he basically wakes up at 8 a.m. and just kind of goes on rants. And he said he basically compared it to his coffee in the morning, right? And he is someone who is criminally online. And as much as he says that it doesn't affect him and that it's just jokes and he doesn't really do it all, he's clearly bothered by the fact that he feels that people who can't do the things that he can do, one of his quotes is just, "You never ran a sprint in your life," is talking crazy to him. And to that kind of idea, I agree. This version of Durant, I like way more. I never liked the burner stuff. If you're going to say it, say it. If you want to clap back, clap back. All right? These people, to his credit, talk crazy. Okay? I think there is a level of respect that I just think fans simply do not have for players anymore. I don't know where that line got lost. Maybe it's the fact that they realize that these people will never meet them in real life. But I have tons amount of respect for someone like Kevin Durant. You know how hard it is to play in the NBA and be considered one of the greatest players of all time? Now, it doesn't mean he's free from criticism, but you can't be talking crazy at this man's about this man, right? But I will say that it clearly affects him. like a lot. And I think he, while he will deny it, cares about how people think about him. And if he was able to win this championship, able to get this Houston team to the finals and win the championship, I think that will go a long way of, having a nice full circle moment of who he is as a basketball player. A lot of people look at the LeBron championship, the one he won at Cleveland, as the thing that kind of completed him as a full basketball player. Like, he didn't need a super team, even though he did have a super team. Kevin Durant Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving made All NBA the years that they won the championship. So whatever, that's neither here nor there. The point is that it took him that to finally get that kind of like recognition, and it finally the Miami years were kind of over. Durant has never since kind of quelled the noise from the Golden State run, whether it was in Brooklyn, now the Suns. Now he's on his third team since he's left Golden State. And hopefully this will be his last team. And while I have a rooting interest for him not to succeed for winning this championship, I think that it will be the most important championship that he could win and that anyone can win. If Shea wins the championship this year, I think that would be an astonishment for him personally. But he has, I think, a lot more time to go. If the Knicks win the championship, that is a championship for the city and a championship that will be lauded for the next 50 years, right? But I think personally, there's no player in the league that this championship could do more in terms of restoring fan love. I'm not talking about his placement and legacy. I'm talking about people finally accepting and embracing who he is than Kevin Durant potentially winning the championship this season. Will he do it? We will figure out and see. But as of this moment, I think he's the one that can gain the most. And then that leaves you with Steph Curry. His team is probably in between. I would pick them to be a little bit better than the Lakers. But I think Houston has a real chance to win the championship. I don't think Golden State does. But it's just fascinating that Curry just keeps going out there and still gives his team a chance to win. And the fact that he's playing this long, and he's been still this good at his age is remarkable. And the fact that he's going to give this team a real chance to maybe get to the finals, I think is truly tremendous. And where exactly he goes from here is funny because I don't think he has much left to prove for any of these guys. I think LeBron doesn't really have much to prove. Even if he won this championship, I don't think, because people are so binary with their numbers that even if he won this championship, I doubt he would be the best player on the team at this point. I think Luka would have been, and somehow that would have been used against him. So I don't necessarily think at this point with the GOAT debate, you already decided where you are. I already had my whole points with Durant about how I think he could really help him move up. With Curry, yes, it would be 5 rings, and he would put him up there with Magic, but no one's going to put him ahead of LeBron, even if he got the 5th ring, And I think his legacy is so set that it's just like, I'm just going out there and balling. And for him to do that, and for this to be one of the swan songs, whether it's this year, next year, the year after that, it's coming at some point. And I think Curry and the Warriors, just the franchise itself, you can just check right now. They are the most valued franchise in the NBA. They're worth, I think, right now $11.1 billion over the Lakers and the Knicks. The ecosystem that he has just completely shifted in that area is something to behold, and completely redefined an entire part of this country that I don't believe any other athlete can do again. I think he came at the right time, right place, and completely transformed San Francisco into the economy that it is today. Speaking of those Golden State Warriors, we are going with our number 7 spot. Guys keep thinking I'm forgetting the number 7 spot on the top 25 butterfly moments of the last 25 seasons. If you're new to this, we are counting down the top 25 butterfly moments. These are not necessarily moments that just happen on the court. These are moments that have truly changed the way a sport, a team, or a person has been perceived going forward. And number 7 for us, I am going to be talking about those Warriors. I'm going to be talking about Steph Curry. And yes, I am talking about when Kevin Durant decided to leave the Golden State Warriors and leave the Oklahoma City Thunder and sign with the Golden State Warriors. Yes, Kevin Durant went on to play 3 seasons with the Golden State Warriors. They went to the finals each of those seasons, winning 2 championships. Kevin Durant unfortunately tore his Achilles in the NBA Finals of the last season he was there, the 2018-2019 season. And it was one of the most devastating things that you could see because he might have won 3 straight championships, if not for them. It completely blew up online, and it fundamentally changed the way that people looked at Kevin Durant. I think a lot of people looked at Kevin Durant as kind of being the anti-LeBron at that point because LeBron was getting a lot of hate for leaving and going to Miami. But it was just his time to go. And he went, and he won the Finals MVPs. And I think, and I said this before on this pod, I think Kevin Durant is truly the first athlete to have suffered from social media. I know LeBron took the same type of pain, if you want to say, the vitriol rather, from that. But LeBron, for all his stuff, it doesn't seem to be at least chronically as online as someone like Kevin Durant. I think this actually changed something inside of Kevin Durant, right? And he went on and he did the things that he wanted to do in Golden State. He won the championships. He was the best player on those teams. He won Finals MVP for both of those titles. And he left, and he's been a journeyman ever since. Someone like Kevin Durant is too good to have played for as many teams as he's played for now, right? And he's just a guy who just seems to have never really found happiness. And I don't know what that happiness is for Durant. I don't know where that is, but I hope at some point he finds it because he took a lot of slings and arrows for a long time. And I think not realizing how great of a basketball player he has been during this time has been a bit disappointing. And not that he hasn't made some mistakes, right? Like teaming up with Kyrie, big mistake. Going to Phoenix, big mistake. We'll see if this Houston thing works out. Like I said before, I do think they're going to be pretty good. But it is something that will be watched upon to see if he's able to kind of find together. But yes, number 7 on our list, Kevin Durant going to the Golden State Warriors. Okay. That's all the time we have for you guys today. Make sure you check us out next week on the pod. Going to have a nice guest for you guys. We'll be talking some baseball, but definitely this is the best. This is a good time, right? Like I said before, we're in the nice meat of it. Baseball's going on, basketball's going on, football's already full swing. So talk to you guys again on the pod later in the week. All right? Be out there, be safe. Like I said, like, subscribe, review. Talk to you guys later. Peace.